Welcome. My name is Jeremy O'Connell, and I am the head or lead developer, programmer for the Connect2SSH bash utility. In this video, I'm going to show you how you use this program to make SSHFS connections. That is SSH file share or file system connections. Now, this is a heavily underutilized technology. It has gone basically unnoticed by most of the Linux world. And it works on Linux, BSDs, and I'm pretty sure Mac. Could be wrong, but I'm pretty sure it's Mac as well. We have all heard of SSH, at least most of us. If you're here watching this, then you must have some understanding of SSH. However, when it comes to actually getting a share, a mount point, from a remote computer like a NAS or a server onto your computer, what do? Samba? NFS? Yikes! There is a way better technology out there. You're looking at it. SSHFS. If you've never worked with Samba, well, you're lucky. Really lucky. Because it is a nightmare. Now, there are technologies out there that make it easier and simplify it. For example, ZFS file system. It makes it a lot easier. Samba, a whole lot easier. I think ZFS is the best file system in the world, but that's another story, another video. In ZFS, it's just a few configuration changes because it's built right in, if you will, into the file system. And in the past, I would, like many people, ran Windows. And I used, even in my house, I had a Solaris Spark machine running Solaris with ZFS, and I set up Samba shares, and connected my Windows systems to it even in my house. And I ran ZFS for business as well. However, now I'm in the great fortunate position to be off Windows. I have no Windows bare metal computers around me at all. I'm all Linux, and then for servers, I've never run a Windows server. So I don't need Samba anymore. And if you're in that position, well, I feel sorry for you. But if you've got a Linux environment or Unix environment, Mac or BSD, some type of BSD based, this is for you. Because it's so much easier. Even on ZFS, I would have user accounts on that, say, Solaris machine, and I would then have to configure in addition a little bit of Samba files. It's a lot easier on, like I said, ZFS, but still, even on ZFS, it was still something I had to deal with. Why even run Samba? Forget Samba. And if you start talking NFS, well, that's a hassle because it has its issues and it's not encrypted. It doesn't have the encryption of SSH. You're not getting that SSH protection. And why deal with something else, some other technology, when SSH is, again, part of a basic Unix-like system? And that's what I'm going to show you. I'm first going to I'm going to get out of this, and I'm going to go to my text document, text editor, which is Pluma, because I'm on Ubuntu Mate 1604 LTS. And so Pluma is the default text editor. And I'm going to show you the commands that you can issue at the terminal, command line, if you will. And then I'll show you Connect2SSH doing it so you don't have to do all this. Let Connect2SSH handle this all for you, which is so much easier. But still, so you know what Connect2SSH is doing in the background, you know how it works. Let's go over this. Now, there are two commands here. And the only difference is I have the key in this one, a private key. So the command is SSHFS. Instead of SSH, like to make an SSH connection, it's SSHFS. So it's SSHFS space, and then you have to give a username on the remote computer to connect to, or remote device. I mean, it might be a NAS or appliance or whatever. And then the @ symbol, and then an IP or a domain or some type of host name that can be resolved to an IP. Then it's colon, then you give the next after the colon, well, I'm on a VirtualBox machine and the mouse here is not always accurate. It's off a little bit. Anyway, this next item after the colon, which I'm trying to highlight here, is getting kind of comical, is the directory on the remote computer, the remote device that you want the connection to go to. In this case, it's going to be home / and then CentOS dev. And then the next item here is going to be the local mount point for that. So we're going to go to, in this case, the Ubuntu Mate will be home / developer / MT for mount, and then CentOS dev or CentOS. And then this is the mount. This is going to be the directory that we're going to connect to on the CentOS box, which is also a VirtualBox machine. So let's go ahead and make sure that this mount point exists. I'm going to do, well, let's see. The present working directory is home developer. Let's do an ls on this. Okay, well, that directory doesn't exist. So that's an issue because we need to make sure this directory exists or we're not going to be able to, obviously, mount data to it. So let's see, does the mount point exist? Or the mount folder? Yep, the mount directory exists. So we can go ahead and switch into mount. And then we can go ahead and mkdir our directory. And now if we ls this, we should see here that we have our CentOS dev directory along with the permissions set correctly for us to use it, and it is owned by us because it needs to be owned by you as the local user to mount it. So if you're going to mount it somewhere like /mount /CentOS dev, you have to watch your permissions. So your permissions can trip you up. So make sure you watch your permissions again. Now, if I wanted to do this all, if I was sitting in my home directory and I didn't have a mount point, I could, a trick here is I could just issue the mkdir and then -p here and paste this in. And what this would do is if the mnt mount point didn't exist, it would auto create that directory and then create this. So that's one way, and you'll see here, well, it's all created, so there's nothing for it to do. That's a little trick. So we'll go ahead and clear that. So now we know that that is a directory here. Let me go ahead, let me just go into the mount so I can just get shorter paths. So let me ls the directory. You can see we have nothing in there. So now let me go to my document. Let's copy this as is. Now, come on. Let's try this again. As I said, the mouse is not quite, it's totally accurate on the bare metal Linux I'm running, but anyway. So I'm going to paste this command in here, hit enter. It's going to ask us for the password, and this is the password on the CentOS machine, not our local machine. So type that in. It's testing, really secure. Anyway, so we didn't get any errors, so it should have mounted cleanly. So let's ls, well, I'll just go up. So before we had nothing. Now if I hit ls, oh wow, we have work. Look at that. And if I ls all, we have even more files, and we see a directory. And I can touch a file, touch new file. Oh, wait. I need to go into that directory. And then I can touch a new file. And now I'll just go ahead and clear that. And if I ls it, you can see we have new file. Now, I wanted to show you all because you can see 10002 users. Wait a minute, but we're developer. That looks weird. Well, yes, there are options that you can use to make this all look nice as far as the users and everything go, but I personally prefer to keep the permission or the owners as they are in the remote device, because it's obviously the remote device that is ultimately maintaining the copy of this. So there are mount points you can look up. If you were interested, you can look up the SSHFS command, and you can type in O and then issue some options to get that to look cleaner. But honestly, I just don't care, and I can edit files. Like if I go into here, I can VI this new file, and I can say adding text to this file, and then I will write this out. And then if I cat that new file, you can see that I can add files, I can edit files, I can even remove files. Oh, it's remove file, excuse me. And now if I ls, say new file, it's gone. So I don't really personally care that this is not lining up as all developer looking and everything. It just doesn't, if you're someone who that really is that matters, then you can choose different mount points. However, Connect2SSH utility won't, because at the end of the day, in general, you're able to make all those changes. Now, if I go to my file manager, and in Mate it is Kaha, or some people say Kaja, I can then go to MNT. I'm already in my user. And you can see here I have CentOS dev. And you get this little icon telling me that, oh, and you can see the eject here too, that this is a remote share. But see, this is as if it's a local share. I mean, it's not because it's telling me, but I can create files here. So I can create a new directory in Kaja, say new directory. And then if I come back over here in the terminal and I ls this, you can see we have a new directory. Or here, if I clear the screen and just go ls, you see we have a new directory. So this is great. I mean, this is much better, much better than Samba, much easier, and it's so much secure than using NFS. So this is what I recommend. Now, I showed you using a password. Let's try using, get out of the folder here. Let's try using a key file, SSH key, as it were. Let me first disconnect. And that's fuser mount. It can't be in the directory. And then space -u for unmount. And then the mount point. In this case, we have CentOS dev. So now if I try and ls CentOS dev, we get nothing. There's nothing here. And I'll even do a -all against it. There's nothing there because it's no longer mounted. And if we go back to our file manager and go to the mount point, you'll see that even though this is mounted, it just hasn't refreshed. Because if I go here and click on this, refresh it, go back out, well, I guess it just still sees it. But the point is, we don't get any files. It's no longer mounted. You can see it's not in the eject here. Personally, I think that's a little bug. But anyway, so it's no longer mounted. That's the bottom line. So I showed you the password. Let's do a Keybase now. So I'll clear this. We'll ls this again just so we can see. I don't know why I'm not hitting tab. It's a lot faster. Okay, so there's nothing in there. So I'm going to go back to my Pluma here, my text editor. I'm going to copy this in, and we're going to use the key file in my user directory .key/ and then the CentOS dev. Let's go ahead and paste this in here. Hit enter, and now it's asking me for the secret phrase because I protected this private key. So I'm going to enter in the secret phrase, which is testing. I know, so secure. Don't tell anyone. Okay, so we didn't get any errors, so it went right. So now let's see here. If I ls, well, I'll just use go up. And now again, we have the files are there where it's back mounted. And if I go back to my file manager here, go to computer, you can see here that it's back, the mount point's back here with the eject button. CentOS is here, and if I go back to my home user, go to the mount point, that's where I chose to put it. You can put it wherever you want. We can now see this. We now have access to this again. So let me go unmount this. CentOS dev. Okay, unmount. So now if I do an ls against it, we don't get anything. It's unmounted. Let me show you what happens if you mistype in this. And now it's trying to connect, and we're getting a reset pipe here. So sometimes though, if you try and remount, you'll get an error. If you ever get an error, just simply issue the unmount command and make sure it is not mounted. And it's saying it's not found in Etsy M tab. So occasionally you'll try and mount it and it'll say busy or something. You're like, but I didn't connect. The key was wrong. Okay, so that's the hard way. Now let me show you the easy way using Connect2SSH. So let's connect as a user. So I'm going to go ahead and I want to mount this as a file system. So let me ls this. Okay, we don't have this. Good deal. Let's go use Connect2SSH. Here, let me clear this. So we're going to use Connect2SSH. Let's make sure our user is set up to use a key. So we don't know what we're doing, so we're going to issue the help command, right? So we're going to say, okay, so we want to make a connection again. So we want to connect, but I'm kind of confused. I can't remember. So did we set this user up? So let's go ahead and, let's see, clear this, connect. Let's make sure this, let me actually update the user here that we want to. I know it's on the ID 1. Let's make sure we're using a key file. So it's password based. So let's set this to be a key file for this CentOS user. We'll say centos.dev is fine. It's from this here. That's great. We'll say let's mount, well, we'll just mount the directory we were last time to keep it. Now this is not right, so let's set this to home/developer, because the mount point, we want to make this be the same as last time. So let's do centos.dev. If you don't do this correctly, it will tell you, it will error out. And yes, this is fine. We're going to update this information. So now everything's good to go. So let's make a connection to this. So how do we make a connection? Now, we can go through the long method here, and I'm going to show you this. So connect, well, let me clear this. Connect to SSH. We're going to issue CO for connection. We're going to pick ID, server 1, the name, SSHFS now, and it's going to attempt to connect there. We issue our connection, or our the passphrase to unlock the key, and it takes it a moment, and we should be connected. I have it set for a few second delay, but if we go ahead and go here to, well, I have 3 here. I don't really need 3 open, do I? So it says connection should be established. So if I go to computer here, I go back to developer, I go to our mount point, you'll see, there it is, it's mounted. That's the slow way. So how, Jeremy, I want to know the fast way to do this. I mean, we are mounted, as you can see here. We can ls this. So that's what this is doing. So let's go ahead and unmount this again. Okay, so if I ls this, we have nothing. So let's do this quickly. So if we go back here and we look at the, well, let's run the help. I meant to run help for you so that you can see. Okay, if we look up here for connection, you will see that we can use the shorthand go and account ID. Now I know this ID is 1. If you don't know what the user ID is, here, I'll show you. You could go to list accounts. We'll just select type, which is LA for list accounts. Text, and you can see here, oh yes, I want to connect to this one account. So, or this account, which is account ID 1. So all you have to do now is, again, let's ls to show that we are not connected. We just issue connect to SSH go 1FS. So what we're telling is, look, connect to SSH. I want you to go to the number 1 profile, the number 1 account, and I want you to mount the file system. I hit enter. We are now attempting to connect. I issue my password in for my key, hit enter, and that's it. We are connected. So we'll let this I have about a 10-second delay just to make sure, to give it time to authenticate, to give it time for the servers to talk. Now if I ls, it is connected. How quick is that? From all that stuff we had to type earlier, I mean, we went from all the stuff we typed here, I'll find it. Let me clear this. We went from this right here. That's what we did. We went from, this is what we now type in using connect to, well, hold on. As I told you, this mouse is a little bit, doesn't really, it sometimes does this to me. So I'll copy this. I'll go back to my text. This is what we would have had to have typed in. So we went from this right here, or even this, to this. Now, which would you rather type in? Do you want to type this in, or this? So much faster, so much faster. And that's literally how quick it is. Now, I'm not going to show again, but if it's password based, you could just reconnect and it would just ask you for the password instead of up here where it asks us to enter in the key phrase. It would say enter a password. I mean, I could go change this, but I think you get the point. This video is going on pretty long. We're pushing 20 minutes here, so good enough. The point is, I use this all the time. And once this is connected, like we said, you can then just simply ls and treat this as if it is another directory in your file system. Again, far superior method, far superior than using Samba, or NFS. No. Forget those methods. Use SSHFS, and my utility that I've created, Connect to SSH, makes it so much easier. Again, look at that. Connect to SSH, go, the ID name for your account, And if you don't remember, you can then go do LA for list accounts and find it. And that's all you have to do. Literally, that is all you have to do. I mean, how easy is that? So I'm going to go ahead. I'll show you one more time we'll unmount this and just one last time just to see how quick this is. Let's get this. Okay, we no longer have any mount points there. Or sorry, it's not mounted anymore. If we go to our file manager, go back here. The reason it keeps going to computer is because I disconnected and I'm sitting in there, and so it's like doesn't know what to do. So I come here. Nope. So go back here. We'll clear this. We'll go up and find that command. Well, okay, if it's not there, no problem. We'll just issue connect to SSH, go 1 FS, enter. Attempting to connect, enter the passphrase, and we're connected. And see, we're already connected. It's waiting, but if I go here, we're already in the directory because it went really quickly. It's just I have a 10-second delay or so in case I have to go out over the internet and interface and all that stuff. But that's it. That's all there is to making a connection using this utility. Once you start using this, you're going to go, how did I ever live without it, and why wasn't I using SSHFS to begin with? I look forward to seeing you in the next video.